brought to you by...
Place your orders now while stocks last with Gagawala maize seeds. Available in all agro-shops countrywide, or call 0392 568 937. Our team of experts is always available to handle your inquiries. We believe in quality seeds for a better living.
Lantana camara, also known as kapanka, is one of the most dangerous pastures for your livestock. What are the signs and symptoms you can identify that your animal has taken Lantana camara? And what do you do? Tonight on NBS Agribusiness with me, Alex Mugasha. In the peaceful farmland of Gomba district, known as a cattle corridor, where goats and cows graze amid verdant foliage, there is a hidden threat to their health. These naive grazers are seriously endangered by Lantana camara and other dangerous plants. Sam Mwonge, a renowned lead veterinarian at YPA Farms, caught up with us on the farm to explain what Lantana camara is.
Okay, when you are talking about the poisonous pastures, let me first tell you the definition of the word poison. The poison is any substance that when taken in small quantities can deprive the health of the animal or cause death or can result into death. That's what we call a poison. Now we have some of the poisonous pastures in our grazing areas, and these poisonous pastures have caused us more harm in the livestock industry. These poisonous pastures, let me first tell you some of the effects or why do the animals feed on the poisonous pastures. Some of the factors that will bring these animals to start feeding on the poisonous pastures is when the animal has been on zero grazing. Let me say your animals have been total on zero grazing and now you're turning them to a free range system. These animals are not used to the pastures, so you'll find that these animals will start feeding on the poisonous pastures. When you have done what we call overstocking. Overstocking is when you stock the animals beyond the number that you have to stock. So when you overstock the animals, they will graze or they will consume all the pastures and they will remain with only the poisonous pastures. And this factor will also result into animals feeding on the poisonous pastures. We have the drought. When the drought comes, of course the drought will result into destruction of all the pastures. And remember, these poisonous pastures are resistant to drought conditions. So the animals will have no option apart from feeding on the poisonous pastures. Some of the poisonous pastures that we have in our grazing areas are the bracken fern, we have the Lantana camara, we have the Sodom apple, we have the Phytolacca dedicandria, we have the Oxalis concatula. Those are some of the poisonous pastures that we have.
Sam says that with its vibrant clusters of flowers and glossy leaves, Lantana camara might appear benign, but beneath its beauty lies toxicity that can wreak havoc on livestock.
Let us talk about the Lantana camara. The Lantana camara locally is called the kapanka. Kapanka has that toxic principle that we call lantadine A. Lantadine A, it affects the animal. When the animal feeds on Lantana camara, you find that this lantadine A, that toxic principle in Lantana camara, will bring about what we call irritation of the gastrointestinal tract. That's one of the effects of Lantana camara when it's fed on by the animal. Another effect is photosensitization. Photosensitization is when the animal will have wounds on its body, but it's due to the effect of being, after feeding on the Lantana camara in the grazing area, then this Lantana camara will result into photosensitization. This is when under direct sunlight, the animal, more especially the animal with a white color, white skin color, they have that photosensitization that during the drought seasons, you find that it has wounds on its body. Those wounds will be as a result of the animal feeding on the Lantana camara. We have the Phytolacca dedicandria. Phytolacca dedicandria, this one can even cause abortion in animals when it's fed on by the animals.
Despite its toxicity, Lantana camara is often consumed by livestock due to its palatability when other forage is scarce. This makes it imperative for farmers to be vigilant and prevent access to areas where this plant grows.
But these poisonous pastures have got what we call the toxic principles. It's the toxic principle that will affect the animal. When the animal feeds on the poisonous pasture, this toxic principle inside that pasture, it's what will result into a problem in the animal's health. Like when we talk about bracken fern. Bracken fern has got 5 toxic principles. It has a toxic principle that we call carcinogenic factor. It has a toxic principle that we call anaplastic anemia factor. It has another toxic principle that is called thiaminase, cryogenic glycosides, and aplastic anemia factor. Now, when your animal feeds on bracken fern, and it's the toxic principle that is called thiaminase that it will act on the animal, you find that thiaminase will result into vitamin B deficiency. When the animal feeds on bracken fern, and among the 5 toxic principles that I've told you, it's thiaminase that is going to be active in the animal's body. You find that thiaminase results into vitamin B deficiency. And remember, vitamin B is a cofactor in carbohydrates metabolism. So you will find that this animal will have problems in breaking down carbohydrates because the vitamin B has been destroyed by that toxic principle called thiaminase.
Identifying signs of lantana poisoning in cows and goats is crucial for timely intervention. The consequences of grazing on poisonous plants can be devastating. Affected animals may exhibit symptoms.
Another toxic principle in that bracken fern, you find that it is called aplastic anemia factor. That toxic principle will suppress the bone marrow activity. Remember, we all know that the bone marrow is responsible for formation of white blood cells in the body, and the white blood cells are responsible for fighting against the disease-causing agents. So when the aplastic anemia factor acts into the animal, it results into destruction of the bone marrow. We have the cryogenic glycosides. The cryogenic glycosides, or is the carcinogenic factor. The carcinogenic factor will result into formation of tumors in the urinary bladder. Tumors, these are tumors, let me say, how can I explain it? Formation of tumors. These tumors will then rupture and result into hematuria. What do I mean by hematuria? Hematuria is excessive bleeding of the animal. The animal will start bleeding. After bleeding, of course, eventually it will die. And you find that the animal will be having bloody diarrhea. That is done. Now we have left the bracken fern.
Let's have a commercial break, but more to come.
Brought to you by...
Place your orders now while stocks last with Gagawala maize seeds. Available in all agro-shops countrywide, or call 0392 568 937. Our team of experts is always available to handle your inquiries. We believe in quality seeds for a better living.